Hi and welcome to another video, and in this film you're going to learn how to slam your stem and also by default chop off the chimney. Okay, so there's various reasons why you might want to slam your stem, and most people are doing it for aero gains. I did do it a little bit for aero gains. I'm not going to knock a little aero gain if it's coming my way, but I mostly do it for comfort. So I've set up my first bicycle pretty much as good as I'm going to get it, I think, without going to see a bike fitter, and now I try to make all my other bicycles fit the same, and that's why I move my stem up and down or in and out. And by in and out I mean going for a shorter or longer stem to get things to match. So where do we start? Well, it's pretty straightforward. First thing you want to do is find the right position for your stem and also the right length of your stem. And you want to ride this for about 1,000 miles. You can see here on my bicycle that I've already done this, and I've put about 1,000 miles on the bike just to make absolutely sure that I want to cut the chimney off, because once you do it, there's no going back, guys. So here's the bike in question, which I believe is a 2016 Bianchi Intenso. As you can see, I've already lowered my stem and found the correct position that suits me. So now I'm ready to chop off that chimney. So then, first things first, you're going to need some tools for this job, and you don't need very many at all. You're going to need a set of Allen keys and you're going to need a hacksaw. That's the most basic requirement. It's going to help a lot if you've got a bike stand, and I'll show you mine in a minute. It's quite a nifty little trick. It's also going to help if you've got a torque wrench, an old stem or a Jubilee clip. And I'll explain that in a moment. So here you can see the stand that I'm working with, and it's an old dumb trainer as they call them, and you can pick these up absolutely cheap as chips, and these are invaluable, I find, for working on the bike. I sometimes prefer them to a track stand. So the first thing we need to do then is just to take off the top cap, and that's pretty straightforward. Just gonna come down here. And you can see I've got a bit of a chimney on mine already, because I've already actually set the height and done my 1,000-mile test on it, and I'm perfectly happy with this position. But we can show you what to do as well. It's not a problem. Then we're going to need to undo the stem. Now that we got the stem loose, you can see that we've got these additional spacers, and if you want to slam your stem you can take those off, put it down nice and low, and then we cut this section off. But you actually have to leave a gap as well. You can't just cut this section off, but I'll get to that in a moment. For me personally, that's where I want my stem. That suits me much better. So we're going to have to work out how much to cut off on the end, and we're also going to need to pop out the plug. Popping out the plug is easy. So this is a compression plug which takes up the slack and sets your head bearings to the right tightness. So let's undo this. Here we go. So you can see once I put the top spacer back on, there's a little bit of a gap on the inside, a bit of a lip, and that's the lip that we're going to have to keep when we take this away and cut away the steerer tube. So I can literally put this up against the steerer tube, mark it and cut it, and it'll be perfect to fit in there. So let's do that next. To remove the fork from the bicycle, we're first going to have to disconnect the brake cable and remove the wheel. Carefully remove the stem. And take off these spacers, putting them to one side should you wish to reuse them again later. Then you can carefully remove the forks, taking care not to drop the wheel bearings on the floor. So there's the fork. A little hack that I've learned, a little cheeky hack. I'm using the track stand, but this is great, this is. I gotta be the only one doing this. I've learned my guitar stand is really useful for propping the bike up. It's even colour coded. So here you can see me adding an old stem to act as a guide for the hacksaw blade, but that Jubilee clip that I mentioned earlier will serve the same purpose. I'm also using the old spacer that I took off to act as a guide for the measurement. So you can see how I've spread things out here. I've got the fork down by there, and this is pretty stable, so I can hold this steady now, holding it like that, and start to cut. When cutting carbon, it's best just to take a few precautions. So here I'm working outside, and I'm also wearing a mask on my face just to keep any dust away, but it should be pretty safe working outside. So this is why you use a used stem. Have cut into it slightly, but I can use the other side next time, so it'll last a couple of times, and it was going to get thrown in the bin anyway. But that's made a pretty good cut. So now the steer has been cut down to the correct size, I can start to reassemble the bike. First adding some grease onto the bearing races, and then carefully slotting the forks back into position before refitting the stem, taking the slack out of the headset bearings, and then retorquing all of the bolts down to the correct specs. So at this point, I find it can help just to put the wheel back in. Gives me a nice steady base to work on. Yeah, that looks good. So with the compression plug, this is one of these places where a torque wrench comes in really handy. And we're going to go for 7 Newton meters on this one, which is what Bianchi recommend. Your manufacturers might be different. Here I'm nipping up the top cap bolt, not tight, just enough to take the slack out of the headset bearings before torquing down the stem itself. And make sure we get the forks dead straight. I like to jump on the bike for this bit. I can get really OCD-ish about this. Sure we all could, really. So there you go. I haven't slammed it all the way, obviously, because I take comfort as a main priority over aerodynamics. But I've got rid of the chimney. I've shown you how to do the slamming should you require it. But personally, whatever you do, I think you want to test it for at least 1,000 miles before you actually commit to making the chop. So there you go then, guys. That's how to slam your stem if you want to, or almost slam the stem in my case, because I was a bit sensible. I hope you found this video useful. If you do, please give me a like and a subscribe, and we'll see you on the next video. Cheers. Ciao for now.